Welcome to the Hairpreneur Show. Awesome conversations that'll provide you with new insight, crazy good ideas, and proven strategies to help you build the business and life of your dreams. Now, please welcome to the stage our host, Ryan Whedon.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hairpreneur Show. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon. I've got a lot of cool things going on right now, and I felt like I had to share them. It's just the day that we launched the first episode of the Hairpreneur Show, so if you've listened to it, thank you so much. I assume that's why you are on the second part of this now. Crazy things are happening now in Mob HQ. That's where I'm sitting right now, looking at my computer screen, watching the little audio signs go up and down to tell me how loud or how soft I'm talking. But today there's a webinar, and I'm hosting it, and it's going to be on 3 balayage techniques that I like that never fail. And I haven't done webinars that often. I have before, but the reason you do webinars is to connect with even a wider audience by offering something of value. So I created this wonderful webinar. We've got like over 2,000 people registered for it. I know not everybody's going to be able to make it, but I'm sure a good portion of those people will be able to make it for the webinar. I've been getting a lot of emails today because, first of all, I messed up the initial email after the confirmation saying that it's at 12 p.m. because I forgot to edit the event time. So I'm getting all these confusing emails back and forth. What time is it really? I'm already getting frustrated. It's amazing how frustrated people get very quickly. But I know people have moved their schedule around for this, so I feel like I have failed them at the beginning of this. But I'm going to deliver tonight. I'm very excited about it. There are just so many moving parts when it comes to setting up an online event, setting up a webinar or something like that, because I have to have a keynote. I have to have kind of a script, an idea of what I'm going to talk about so I don't waste somebody's time for 90 minutes. I have to have certain links set up so that if I'm offering a special, it lines up with that special so that the people that are watching it and registered for it get that link when they need to get that link. What I'm getting at, everybody, is that I am stressed out beyond belief. And I don't get nervous that often. I can stand in front of thousands and thousands of people and be a goofball and do hair, but just something new to me is webinars, and it's not something I'm super comfortable with. I'm a lot more comfortable being myself in front of a group of people than I am sitting at a computer desk and talking through a pop filter like I am now into a microphone into a virtual room for people to listen. I just don't have everything figured out yet, and I'm very nervous. I actually am having a panic attack. And I do get panic attacks from time to time. I used to have them really, really bad in the 90s, and then as much as I hate to admit it, I've been on some form of medication to help deal with the panic and the anxiety since then. Whether or not it's still working, I still get anxious and panicky from time to time, but it's a real thing. And if you've ever dealt with panic attacks, it's tough. It can be really, really debilitating. I used to have them so badly that I didn't leave the house. I didn't leave the house for a month one time because I just couldn't feel good enough to walk outside of my room in college and feel like a functioning human being. I always felt like I was going to die. My heart would feel like it's going to explode. It was racing, and that's panic attack, that's anxiety attack, and you don't know why they're caused. I think I did too many drugs in college, honestly. Like drugs I shouldn't have been doing, like ecstasy. It was a big thing back then, and I was in the party scene, and I did that a lot, and thankfully I lived through that time, never touched the stuff again. But I think I did it so much in a given amount of time that it just totally ruined my serotonin levels. But anyway, stay away from that stuff. You know, we all go through that phase, I think, but just hopefully you get through that phase and you can move on and focus on being healthy and happy after that. But that's why I have panic attacks, or at least I think that's why I get panic attacks from time to time. Getting back to things at hand, and in regards to my last podcast episode that I released, talking about you're never really ready, you just got to dive in and find a way to the surface. Well, here's a perfect example of that. I'm not ready. I haven't really practiced it, and I'm talking about the webinar right now. I'm still writing the script of what I want to get across. Of course, it's a script from my words, and I just want to make sure that I don't miss certain key points because I want to make sure everybody's time is beneficial. The way I see my success is if I make enough other people successful, then I'll be successful as well. If I'm not helping other people, then what am I doing here? So that's the goal. I never want anybody to feel run down, without purpose, without passion, like I have earlier in my life. So please wish me luck, cross your fingers for me, and let's hope for the best. On to other topics. Let's continue on with the book that I started last time. My book, How to make six figures as an independent stylist. Here we go. Section 2, The 7 Steps. The best way to predict the future is to create it, by author Stephen Covey. Step 1, act like a business. As you think, so shall you become, by Bruce Lee. Love that guy. Have you seen some of his old videos? They're pretty awesome. Anyway, back to the book. You have decided to have your own business and be your own boss. Bravo! But what does that mean exactly? I'll tell you. It means you need to think bigger than yourself. You're not just you anymore. You are now your business. Although you are the talent and probably the only employee in your new venture, you still need to act like a business. Even if you are your own one-man army, a solopreneur, it's time to think beyond yourself and expand the range of your thought. Here's the scary part. You are now responsible for your own brand. No longer can you hide under the roof of someone else's salon and complain that certain things aren't the way you would have them if it was your salon. From the very first contact you have with potential customers, all the way to the end of their experience, it is your responsibility. A customer experience needs to flow, needs to be stress-free and exciting. It's your business now, and the experience you're providing is under your control and your control only. I've heard women say before that it's harder to leave their hairdresser than it is to leave their partner. I realize there's a bit of humor at play in that statement, but I also think there's a lot of truth to it as well. Men and women love their stylists, and I'm sure they will love you too. But they have to find you first, so focus on impressing them from the start. When a new client finds you, they need to be impressed, blown away even. Have you ever tried online dating? I'm sure you probably have, or you know that somebody, a friend of yours has. Well, having your salon stand out among the crowd is really not that much different. As online daters are scrolling for possible mates, potential salon clients are undoubtedly seeking love as well, except in this case, it's for their hair. In both cases, you are absolutely inundated with possibilities. Many can be written off right from the start because in one way or another the person or salon has failed to grab your attention and meet your personal criteria. So you can continue to swipe or click to find the right match. The ones that do manage to catch your attention probably do so within a fraction of a second. Something about the person or salon was attractive to you in one way or another. What was it that grabbed your attention? If you haven't done this search for yourself, do it now. Pretend you are looking for a salon professional to cut or color your hair. Somebody like you. Right now, do a quick search on Google or Yelp for salons in your area that could potentially fit your own personal hair needs. See what pops up. Which ones catch your attention and why? Is it something as simple as their fancy name or something more complex, like a well-designed website? Whatever it is, take a minute and write it down. Now, go back and preview several of the salons that you'd never set foot in. Why do you immediately vote them out? What is it specifically that turns you off? Is it the low star rating and customer complaints? Maybe it's their cheesy website and lack of professionalism. Again, take a minute and jot down a few notes. Referring back to these when you are setting up your business or updating it is highly, highly valuable. Your potential clients are going to be doing the same search and thinking about the same things. Think about what kind of first impression you want to make. Your brand needs to be impressive, confident, and professional. Potential customers need to feel like they know you, like you, and trust you before they can even contact you. Ask yourself why someone would choose you over the dozens of competitors in your market area. Is it your killer personality? No. They need to meet you first. Your personality comes into play later to keep them coming back. First impressions are everything, and your first impression needs to be killer. Your name, reputation, and business branding needs to be attractive for your target audience. Yes, having an entire brand can be time-consuming and expensive, but it doesn't have to be. It can be done for pennies on the dollar. When I first started out, I was broke. I had to save money and cut financial corners in every possible way. In the sections ahead, I've highlighted some key areas to focus on to help you create a competition-crushing first impression. Choosing the right salon. Now, when you finally decided to make the jump to your own, say, salon suite, your own salon, whether you're independent or even if you're working as a commissioned stylist, there are a lot of factors to consider. Above all else, this is the most important decision you can make, though. You are looking for a new place to call home, a place where your clients will be excited to be, and something that will be enticing to new clients coming through the door. Don't choose something based primarily on price. Just because something may be a good deal doesn't mean it's right for you. Here are some key factors to consider when picking your new salon. 1. Location, location, location. Just as they say in real estate, the same can be said for where you operate your business. Location is very important. This is especially important when you're going independent, say into a salon suite type of environment, because a lot of times may be off the beaten path. And even if they are on a main drag, you still have to compete with 30, 40 other salon suites within your given floor. So that's not going to be very easy to attract clients that way. Just something to keep in mind, because when I had a salon suite, I had to go out and market myself outside of the salon suite because nobody would come to me. So in choosing your salon location or wherever you're going to work from, here are some good questions to ask yourself, which will help you zero in on the right space. 1. Will I be happy here for a few years? 2. Will my ideal clientele feel comfortable here? 3. Is it easy to get to? Like, is there parking, right? 4. Is this area the vibe I'm going for? Take some real time to answer those questions, and you'll soon determine which areas will best suit you and your business. 2. Parking. The first salon I ever booth rented from was in downtown San Diego. The space itself was awesome, but the parking was practically non-existent. The only option my clients had was limited, metered street parking. Worse than that, these paid meters were only good for 2 hours, which meant that any service that ran over 2 hours required either myself or my client running out embarrassingly in public to add more quarters. But because I believe in always delivering the best in customer service, I wouldn't dream of asking one of my clients to run out into public full of foils and hair color to feed a meter. Nor would I ask them for money to feed their own meter. I would actually pay with quarters out of my own earnings. This routine got old pretty quickly. Plus, I ended up spending a lot of my own money paying for their parking. I was already charging a lot for their service, so tacking on an additional $2 to $3 was pretty low in my opinion. Many salons will probably already have parking nearby, unless it's a busy downtown area like mine is now. Then it can get a little tricky, but as long as you give your clients a heads up that it is going to be tricky, they'll tend to come a little bit early. Nonetheless, when weighing your options, be sure to choose a space that makes your customer parking easy. No one likes to drive around and around and around hoping to find something open up. Make sure your clients can find parking quickly and easily. Other factors to consider might be what color line the salon uses and whether that is something that you're willing to work with. Same goes for retail. Does it work for what you're trying to sell? A lot of times if you're booth renting, you can't bring your own stuff in without the salon's permission. However, sometimes in California you can. So make sure you know the rules and the laws before jumping into your own independent situation, especially in somebody else's salon. Quick note for those that are looking to open up their own place. Make sure your lease is read very thoroughly by you, by a lawyer, by somebody, because it's important to make sure you don't get gypped in the contract or taken advantage of, which a lot of landlords will try to do. Ask for TIs, which is tenant improvement, and you'll be surprised that they'll give you lots of money toward improving the place before you actually move in. I definitely advise you to have somebody that is good with contracts take a look at it to avoid future complications. Don't get so excited that you just skip ahead and sign at the bottom. In the next section here, we're talking about how to name your brand. In thinking beyond yourself, you need to think bigger than yourself. When you first start off, you might have had business cards that say Hair by Jess, or for me, Hair by Ryan. That's okay to start, but now it's time for you to open the door to future possibilities and begin building a brand that your loyal followers can stand behind. People love brands. Think Nike, Nordstrom, Starbucks, and Amazon to name a few. All these brands represent something big and special. You may not like some of them, but I'm sure you are aware that many people do. That's because they've built brand loyalty. They are loyal to their brand. They trust it. They respect it. Lululemon didn't invent the yoga pant, but you'd sure think they did. Women identify with this brand because they love it, trust it, and appreciate the quality. Heck, I like it too. That's what your brand needs to reflect: love, trust, and quality. Yes, the brands I listed above are giants, and most of our businesses will never even come close to competing on that level. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm simply inviting you to expand your mind a little bit. If your business card says Hair by Jess or Hair by Ryan, you are selling yourself short. It comes across as small and unimaginative. It tells the world that you have arrived and that there's nowhere else for you to go. Do you really want to portray that? Don't take this personally. That's not my intention. A name like Hair by Jess or Hair by Ryan, for example, has the potential to be super successful, especially if you're like on Instagram and you have 1 million followers. But in order to really grow, you need a brand, something bigger than yourself that your supporters can fully get behind. They already love you, so why not invite them to take an active role toward helping you succeed in a larger goal? I can't imagine you want to be a hairdresser at age 80, do you? Something needs to give. Start tapping into your potential now. I get asked all the time why and how I come up with my brand names. I have Salon Spruce, which is my salon, and then Masters of Balayage. I tell them it's because I envisioned a future. I wasn't sure what it was. Sure, I'd been working on hair solo for a while, but I imagined something bigger than myself. What if, in a few years, I decided to open a bigger place or have a bigger company and hire some employees? I couldn't imagine anyone wanting to work for a salon or a company called Hair by Ryan. Additionally, if I decide to open a bigger salon someday or have a bigger company and expand, I'm going to carry my brand reputation with me, and my clients and our students will undoubtedly follow. They're faithful to our brand and culture and couldn't imagine a life without it. You might be thinking that you can always come up with a business name if and when you decide to expand, right? Of course you can, but why wait? Did you know it takes years to build brand loyalty? It took me 3 years of hard work to become the highest rated salon in my city. So the sooner you start branding your business, the better. The best time to start developing your brand is when you first go into business for yourself. Not only will you probably have more time to focus on branding when you don't have a full clientele and employees to manage, your brand will grow as you do. This gives you the opportunity to continually fine-tune it along the way to create the perfect brand experience for your customers. My salon and brand, Salon Spruce and Masters of Balayage, is the culmination of years of trial and error. From my first days of booth renting to my current salon and educating, my brand continues to evolve as I do. As I mature in my craft, my business matures, and maturity equals success. I have learned what works and what doesn't. And because you're reading this, or because you're hearing this, you get to benefit too. You don't have to make the same mistakes I did. You can skip ahead, make the right decisions, and move forward at an exponential rate. Just read, listen, and act. That's all. You'll learn what works and what doesn't in your own market area, but regardless, you will be ahead of the game as you apply these essential principles toward your own success. As you create a brand, you are creating an experience for your clients. Make it special. Be proud of your business and its potential. Don't wait until you have your ideal place or your dream salon. Start building it now. The next section is create a mobile-friendly website. You need a website for your business, but of course, you already knew that. However, at first, I'd recommend staying away from professional web designers unless you have a lot of money to burn. Hiring a professional will cost you thousands of dollars before your website is even up and running. Website builders will try to convince you that you need a slew of extras and add-ons that your small business can clearly not afford and do without at first. It's like going to get your oil changed for $19. By the time you leave, you've spent nearly $60 because they've upsold you on everything from a new air filter to super premium oil to air fresheners. If I'm to guess, I'd say you are probably at the beginning stages of opening or expanding your small business, right? I'm also guessing you have a very small budget. I know I did. So let's be extra cost conscious at these early stages. Now, I've researched the cost of having a professional to create my own website. When the number I was quoted was more than I was making, I decided to figure out how to do it myself. Then maybe one day, when I could afford to pay somebody to do it, when I didn't have time for it anymore, that's when I would hand off the baton. But I started reading books and learning web design. This was 7 years ago in early 2010. Website creation at that time was so complicated, but being a technologically savvy man like I was, I figured it out after countless hours of trial and error. When I started writing this book last year, of course this was a while ago now, I researched what it would take to develop a website today, in 2017. To my delight, I was amazed to see how absolutely far web design has come. Not only do you not have to hire somebody to do it for you, you don't even have to understand website coding at all. It's all simple drag and drop. Easier than creating a MySpace page. Anybody here remember MySpace? When that was a thing? Companies like WordPress, oneandone.com, Wix, Squarespace help you set up and create your own customized website in minutes. No longer do we need to recruit a web designer to develop your site. Today, anyone can spend a couple of hours and have a professionally attractive, functional website, and that's all you need to get started. I was able to create my salon website and Masters of Balayage all on my own for only about $50. I used Wix. It was up and running in 24 hours. The best part is that I can update it whenever I want without having to call the so-called expert or a specialist. The next section is establishing business hours. Now, when you work for yourself, it's tricky separating your work life from your personal life, but it is possible. One thing that helps significantly is establishing your hours of operation. Your business hours are the days and times your business is officially open and closed during the week. Once you decide which days you intend to be open, make sure the hours are displayed everywhere, on your website, your booking site, Yelp page, Google listing, and on your voicemail. I guarantee you'll be less likely to receive those 11 p.m. client phone calls asking to schedule a hair appointment for the next morning or to get a consultation before they come in. Choose your open hours and choose them carefully. Let's say it's Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7 p.m. Only answer the phone, text, and email clients during those business hours. If somebody calls at 7:30 p.m., let it go to voicemail. If it's urgent, you can call them back. But if it's not, and it's probably not, just call them back, return their message the next day during your normal business hours. Just because we all have cell phones now doesn't mean it's our responsibility to be available 24/7. Once you let your customers know they can reach you after hours, believe me, you can expect them to always contact you. Guess when? After hours. Do you really want your phone buzzing at 11:30 p.m.? I don't care if you stay up late. Do you really want a client calling you then? Probably not, because they will, trust me. You need to set your boundaries early on. Remember, you are a business now. It's time to act like one. Get a dedicated phone line. The best way to personally adhere to your business hours is to have a separate salon phone line. You don't necessarily need to have a separate phone, but it can help significantly. Here are a couple of ways to do that. 1. Add a line to your cellular plan. This is what we did, and it's been a sanity saver. We simply added a cell phone to our family plan and paid for a basic phone, which was free. So for $38 per month, which is a business write-off, we can now ensure that our business hours stay business hours. Here's another bonus. With our Spruce phone, for Salon Spruce is what we call it, we are sure to always answer professionally because anyone calling could be a customer. We are also able to create a professional voicemail greeting that lets people know our hours, special events, and anything else that might be helpful for them to know. Best part of all, after we close shop for the day, we can put it on silent. No more late night client calls ever. 2, get a Google Voice number. Have you guys heard of Google Voice? If not, check it out. It is amazing. I used this tool when I first began booth renting as a way of separating my business life from my personal life. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Google Voice is a tool provided by, guess who? Google, that allows you to create an additional phone number for the phone you already use. This second phone number will then be set to forward calls to your personal phone. The reasons for doing this are simple. Within the Google Voice settings, you can set times of the day that your number will actively forward calls. Let's say it's Tuesday and your business hours are 10 to 6 p.m. You can set those hours in the Google Voice for forwarding to your cell phone. Before or after hours, callers will go straight to a second voicemail that you can set up in the Google Voice settings. You can even receive and respond to text messages through the Google application or Google app on your phone. If you're not ready to invest in a separate phone line, I highly recommend starting with Google Voice. It's free and it gets the job done. Then one day down the road, when you're overwhelmingly busy, invest in a separate phone. Your sanity will thank you for it, I promise you. Get business insurance. This is the last section we have today. In recent years, a woman almost died by having her hair shampooed. You may be rolling your eyes and think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Go look it up. In 2013, at a salon in San Diego, of all places, that's where I live, a 48-year-old woman was getting her hair shampooed. Nothing out of the ordinary. However, less than 2 weeks later, she suffered a massive stroke and nearly died. Doctors were able to tie the stroke to the impact on her neck from the cramped shampoo bowl. We all knew it could happen, right? Beauty parlor stroke syndrome, they called it. Yes, it's a thing. It's a rare occurrence, but has been documented as a possible side effect to simply getting your head washed at a salon. You better believe there was a lawsuit involving the salon after this, and probably the stylist too. Did you know that each year there are over 20 million lawsuits in the United States? It's crazy. We live in a society that loves quick money, and some people are willing to pretty much sue anybody or do anything just to line their pocketbooks. Now, to protect yourself, you need to get some decent business insurance. This is for everybody in this business. I realize this story I just told you may seem a little, out there, far-fetched, but let me give you one more example. Something you may have even come close to doing on your own. We're all human. This next story happened to me just a few months ago, and this was in late 2017. One of my regulars came in for a routine haircut. He'd been in about 20 times over the last 2 years. He was always in. I was an ace with his hair. I could do it blindfolded. But on this particular day, I was more stressed out than usual. There was a lot on my mind, and I was a little bit more distracted. I was concerned about bills I had to pay, phone calls I had to make, and clients I had forgotten to schedule. A typical day. My mental to-do list was going nuts. It's going crazy. To top it off, I was running 30 minutes late, and we all know what that feels like. At any moment, my next client would be walking through the door, and I was glancing over my shoulder in anticipation. And that's when it happened. As I was scissor over combing just behind his right ear, my freshly sharpened blades sliced through the tip of his ear like butter, nearly snipping it off entirely. My client yelped in pain and reached for his ear. I instantly just turned ghost white with shock and would watch the blood pour from the fresh laceration I created. I quickly grabbed a towel and applied pressure on it. The tip of his ear was barely hanging on. I was freaking out, and so was he. All I could think was how glad I was to have insurance to protect me from such mishaps. Like, if he ever wanted to sue me, he could have. Thankfully, he didn't. He knew that I'd always done a great job and that it never came to that. Just say it was somebody you didn't know or a new client and they decided to go full court press on you with their lawyers, they'd probably win if you didn't have insurance. And you'd probably lose your job, lose your house, go bankrupt, and basically be screwed. That'll never happen to you, you might think. That's what I thought too. But it did happen, and it does happen. Thankfully, as I said, he did like me and understood that I simply had a really, really bad day. I gladly paid his doctor bill to get his ear stitched up and offered him free haircuts for the rest of the year. That's the least I could do for someone being so understanding. The way I see it, I got off easy. Thankfully, my client was not out to ruin me or my business by filing a huge lawsuit. He appreciated the great work I had always done. He said mistakes of that nature rarely befall someone with as much focus and talent that I have always provided. I was grateful for his supportive statement because I felt terrible. It reassured me as a professional as I was feeling pretty low in that instance. Unfortunately, not everyone is so understanding. If this had happened to a new client, I'm certain I would have been sued for damages. That's why you need to be protected. I'm sure your clients love you to death. There's no doubt. But that doesn't mean they won't sue you for damages if you happen to spill bleach in their eye and maybe they went blind. Oops. Bottom line, get insurance. This is to protect you and your business from any unfortunate accidents. Now go make a few calls and secure some insurance. Well, that's the end of step 1 in the 7 steps to six-figure success here. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm having a great time doing this, and we'll see you next week with step 2. If you like what you've been hearing, please hit subscribe below. We've got a lot of fun stuff on the way, including interviews with some top artists, some top thought leaders in our industry, and of course, I'm going to dive into more 7-figure strategies to get ahead and rock your business, grow it into a beast. So stay tuned for that. Love you guys. You're awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Hairpreneur Show podcast. Go now to www.thehpshow.com to sign up and get first dibs on our weekly education directly to your inbox. Thanks again for listening. Please share the love and tell a friend about us. Till next week, you're awesome.